Alright everyone, it's time to talk about the oddity of today's Democratic Party, in which Bernie Sanders has come to the rude realization that he's not actually considered far left by Democratic Party standards anymore. Remember a few years ago when he was cast off as too far out and couldn't get votes? Well, now he's not far out enough. Julian Castro coming out. Now, of course, Julian Castro, early on I said he's one of the people who could actually fight off Trump, potentially, not because of policy. On policy he's gone further left than Bernie Sanders, literally on some issues, which would be problematic, but he's got the speaking skills and he's got the stage presence. He's not being taken seriously, and so he's trying to punch up because there's nothing below him. He's like dead last. Gillibrand will be doing the same thing. It's harder for her because she's cultivated an image of being sort of more professionalistic. Julian Castro, he's going full maverick mode, I suppose. He's calling out Bernie Sanders for not backing reparations. Now, that's a misnomer. You shouldn't be using that term at all. The real term is stealing. What happens when the U.S. government says, okay, we're going to take a bunch of taxpayer money, because the government doesn't generate its own revenue, and give it to one specific group of people irrespective of their current situation based on past events? It's stealing. I like how they bring up Native Americans. No, reparations shouldn't have been paid to anybody in this country. It's always been a mistake to put one group of people separate from the other, outside of the core of just being American, has always been wrong. Affirmative action is wrong. Differentials within treatment are inherently unconstitutional, number one. They blatantly breach equal protection under the law. Yes, that includes affirmative action, because again, use the metaphor of two loaves of bread being offered in one store. They're both the same price, they're basically the same. Now all of a sudden you market one of them. You have signs up in front of the store, oh, this bread is wonderful. You talk on TV, oh yeah, I eat it every night. You are essentially demoting the competing piece of bread because there are only a certain number of slots of bread buyership available. It's inevitable. You're not doing anything specifically negative, it's affirmative action. What's happening is the other loaf of bread is indeed suffering. You just don't see it on its face, and so it seems more family friendly. It's a con, basically. Politicians do this. They set up these programs so they can graft off the top of them. Politicians and educators and shit. But Julian Castro is coming out and attacking Bernie Sanders. He said, well, it's not enough to be progressive on some issues. You have to be progressive on everything. So in other words, they have to toe the whatever line Debbie Wasserman Schultz tells them, or whoever else is in charge of your left-wing movement. That's not the way things work. It's very funny because this is, along with guns, something on which Bernie Sanders has distanced himself from the main line of the party. Now, I know he's embraced the anti-Second Amendment rhetoric of the Democratic Party now, but up through the middle of the last election, he didn't. He's like, well, I come from a state where people do a lot of sports shooting and hunting and stuff, and so I got a different idea than these more urban liberals. And it's true, like most of the Democrats, if you look where they're from the big city. They're going to be from a place like Manhattan or San Francisco or whatever, Houston. They're from a big city, and especially from the coast, the blue states, the elite core of urbanization. They don't come from the middle of small-town America. Now, Sanders, of course, was born in Brooklyn and raised in Brooklyn. He's from that urban area in the most literal sense. But he has spent most of his life in Vermont, pretending to be a native-born Vermonter and taking photo shots with Ben and Jerry's. By the way, he almost never smiles. He's always very dour in his look. Probably because he follows an ideology that deep inside he knows is never going to actually take command of this country and destroy it like all the Marxists want. Well, it's very funny to see Julian Castro doing the punch-up thing. He's hoping, I think, to get some of those alienated would-be far-left voters that nonetheless won't support Sanders because he's a white male. And that's the other funny part, is he's not attacking Sanders for the most obvious defects of character he has. He's in the Democratic Party, yet he's an old white male. That is a problem for most Democratic voters at this point. A lot of them are racist towards whites, sexist towards males, and have this thing in mind about age, like, oh, we need a younger candidate and stuff, like the party's going to be led by 10-year-olds or something, which makes sense because, as far as you look at their platform, it seems to have been concocted by people with infantile minds. Hell, I think that the average middle school debate team would do a better job of governing than the Democratic Party at this point. They're totally useless. Debbie Wasserman Schultz the other day comes out, echoes Pelosi. She's obviously Pelosi's lapdog now. She's like a captive within her own party. She comes out and says, yeah, impeachment's off the table unless there's something substantial. And then it comes out, and then you have the Lisa Page revelations today. It's like, I'm going to put two and two together here. Could they be related? No, it's totally impossible. It'd be a conspiracy theory to possibly suggest that could even remotely be the case. Yeah, it couldn't have anything to do with Obama's DOJ being totally weaponized and clearing Clinton and forcing the FBI to drop the Clinton server investigation. No, it has nothing to do with it. Trump's going to come out smelling like a rose, by the way. That almost certainly gives him 2020. It's the only dark cloud hanging over his head. The economy's doing fine. Foreign policy's trudging right along. What is it? People don't want to vote for him because they think he's a Russian pawn or something. That's going to get blown out of the water probably before the election. So enjoy the ride. It's going to be total chaos. Julian Castro's nuts. And Bernie Sanders is nuts too. It's crazy that he decided to run again. Because again, after several more years of marching, he's older. That's a problem. His ideas haven't fundamentally changed. And then you have stuff like this. The Democratic Party has veered to the left so significantly that a self-proclaimed socialist that's been a socialist, avowedly pushed socialist policies in every possible sense since the mid-1970s is now considered to be too far right on certain issues, on namely guns and reparations. The Democratic Party is doing everything that it can to alienate every working class, middle class, male voter in this country, every white voter in this country, every person like myself who doesn't vote based on wedge issues at all, and I'm looking, yes, primarily out for my fucking wallet voter in the country. Every single one of us are being alienated. If you tick any of those boxes, you're probably ticked off at the Democratic Party, and not without good reason. These are not simplistic issues like, well, nobody cares, let them implement their policy. No, I do look askance to the idea of electing a party to power within the executive branch, or really any other branch. I'm not going to vote for Sanders in the Senate or any of these other people. I'm not going to vote for Leahy. I'm not going to vote for Welch. I'm not going to vote for Phil Scott. I'll vote for myself for governor probably. It just as a joke. Might as well do the thing again. You know, I think I got 15 or 16 votes actually before, which is hilarious. My name is actually on the results list under the other heading. So, I think I came in 4th in the other category, and after making one YouTube video, yeah, it was okay. I didn't even vote for myself. I voted for Mickey Mouse. That was funny. No, these people. I'm not going to vote for a party that's like, oh, we're going to take your taxpayer money and we're going to throw it at other people who were never enslaved. There are no slaves in this country. I do not fucking care that somebody's great-great-great-granddad was a slave. If that's still affecting you a century and a half later, maybe you should try changing the way that you do business. That's like me saying, like, oh, well, my family's been poor, and they have. Generation after generation. It's not just like, oh, 150 years ago the Warwicks fell on hard times. No, fuck you. My family's been poor all along. Since, like, the end of the 1600s in this continent. I don't let that hold me back and say, well, they've been impoverished, and there's probably some indentured servants in there somewhere. You know, mostly they were sub-working class. They were peasant labor, basically. There were a lot of people, they did, like, bricklaying or rough carpentry and stuff. Not rich people, not even like rich enough to own land, like small town farmer or something. They didn't even rise to that level. They were fucking brute labor for them, not even skilled labor for the most part. That's the family tree back to the period where they come over here. They give up semi-noble sort of blood status over in Europe because there's nothing to do in Europe. They come over here, think they're going to till the land, and end up getting basically turned into servants. So I'm not gonna let that say, oh, I need reparations because, you know, the economic and socio-political structure of the country just kept my family down for generations and generations. The government owes me money because otherwise I'm too fucking helpless to do it on my own. By the way, if I was like black, I'd be so pissed off at the Democrats. I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm not a slave. I'm an American citizen. I don't know what you're talking about. Jesse Jackson doesn't talk for me. And then it's really funny to see like all these people talking about it. Like, Elizabeth Warren of all people. Yes, she's really a racial justice warrior. Makes total sense. Old, extremely white woman. Like in the dictionary next to Caucasian, there should be a picture of Elizabeth Warren. Somebody should put that on Wikipedia. Go to the page for Caucasian and just spam Elizabeth Warren's picture on there. You get a whole army of people to do that till they have to lock the fucking article. Or hypocrisy, or sellout, or liar, anything like that. I'm assuming the article for lies is probably already locked because I'm sure that other people have done that. Can you imagine the edit war between Trump and Obama fans? No, it's crazy talk. The idea of liquidating taxpayer money now for something that happened a century and a half ago, when you could take that money. Here's a proposition and use it to try to lobby these governments and other governments to crack down on the actual slave trade that's going on today. You say you don't want any borders. Okay, well then there's no difference between us and a bunch of Haitians that are actually enslaved. So go over there and do something good. Go liberate some Haitian sex slaves. The Clinton Foundation made sure there were plenty of them. By the way, it was Clinton and Obama's foreign policy that led to hundreds of thousands of slaves in Libya. Isn't that a wonderful time? They're still laughing about Gaddafi now. Ah, what a wonderful time. We destroyed Libya. Yay. We freed people from the evil Gaddafi. Of course, now they're, tribal chieftains have cracked the country into 5 pieces and it's no longer really a functioning state. Without foreign security forces have to hold things together in a few cities and oil rigs, and that's basically a wonderful time. Wonderful effects of that liberal foreign policy. That's about all. Peace out.